All right, gang, check it out. Check it out. As promised, I have Alex Cortes from MACABRE L.A. on the phone with me right now. Alex, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing fine. How are you doing, Billy?
Doing great, man. Thanks for calling in tonight and spending some time with us on the Keep It Metal show.
Pleasure's all mine.
Dude, now, you recently changed the name of your band to MACABRE L.A. What brought along the name change, and how did you choose this one?
Well, first of all, the band was originally called L.A. Noir, and then after I did the first CD, two different books and a very internationally popular video game came out with that name, so obviously I figured, okay, well, can't keep using that one, so then I switched it to Audio Noir, and then I discovered that there's this band over in Germany with that name. They're like some kind of weird Euro dance thing, and but every time I punched anything in anywhere, that would come up, and my name, my version of Audio Noir never did. So basically, then I kind of started thinking, well, I had a bunch of names in mind, and MACABRE L.A. I just thought was good because it had kind of there's certain influence, as far as non-musical influences. One of them has been gore videos, and I thought that kind of fit that. And plus, I wanted to include the name L.A. because everybody hates L.A. so much, so so that's pretty much how that happened.
That's cool, man. That's cool. So, when did the band first come together, man? Give us a little history on the band.
Well, it started off, at first it was just a recording project back in 2001. It seems like eons ago. Actually, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but it was. And what happened was, I made friends with my buddy Joe, and he's a computer geek and a musician. It just so happens that he had this brand new software called Acid for recording music. And we started to talking about it, and he said, well, why don't we record something? And that's how the first album came about. And at first it was just a recording thing, and then gradually, I started talking with the guitarist and then the drummer, and we started jamming, and then, before long, it took a while. I had some personal problems I won't go into, but I was kind of out of commission for a while, and I suppose you could say without me there kind of is no MACABRE L.A. I kind of am to the band what, say, Trent Reznor is to Nine Inch Nails or Lemmy is to Motorhead, and anyway, so, one thing led to another, and then, I had the live thing, and then some years later, after I finally got my act together and stopped having the personal problems, or at least stopped having them so severely, then, that's when we made the second album, and the rest is history, I guess.
Killer, man. Cool,
or as much history as it could possibly have.
Dude, you mentioned Acid. That was like the first editing program I had for music. I thought I was like the only person in the world to use that, but it's so cool.
It's not very well known. It's not very well known at all. And not only that, but when my buddy Joe first showed it to me, it was like the only thing that anybody had ever done on it that they had examples of was like all these like little rap clips and stuff, and people just rap babbling over a pre-programmed beat and whatever, and we're like, well, God, I don't even know if we can record full songs with this. But next thing you know, we did, and it really was quite amazing. This software they have for recording music now is just incredible. It's space age.
Right? Yeah, man.
Space age. And so, yeah, but now there's like, they have I think their since we recorded the first album, I think. They're up to the fifth version of it now, but it's still not very well known. Of course, everybody knows Pro Tools, but there are actually several others besides Pro Tools that are actually, considerably cheaper and a lot easier to use.
Cool, man, cool. So now, dude, tell us about the songwriting, man. Would you say it's a one-person effort? Is it a group effort? Tell us a little something.
Oh, I write everything. It's all me. I write everything, and on the recordings, I play everything too. I use a drum machine because there's no. I mean, we're recording in my buddy Joe's living room in his apartment. So we can't exactly set up live drums. Right. So I use a drum machine, but I record it all. I program it all myself, and then the tunes are all mine. Some of them are actually quite old. Some of them, the tunes that are on the two albums I wrote like back in the early '90s and stuff, and I was just in this band and that band, and it never worked out for whatever reason. And so, like I said, in 2001, I finally got a chance to do a proper recording, and the rest is history. But I'm probably using far too many words to answer your question. I write everything myself.
No, that's cool, man. That's cool. So, dude, now, are you a studio band, a live band?
We do both. Actually, the two other members, they pretty much only play live. They have other things they do too besides MACABRE L.A. But they're just for live. Whenever we record, it's all me, and then I have to bring in a couple of. Usually, my buddy Joe that I do all the recording with, or another friend of mine, a guy named John Worley, do the leads because I can't play lead guitar for jack crap. But what do you call it? As far as the recording, it's all me and a drum machine basically.
Cool, man. Cool.
And the writing's all me too. I write everything.
Cool. So, dude, how would you describe your sound to people?
Well, okay, again, I can get long-winded far too easily when I'm talking about my own music, but basically, my tastes in music are endless. I'm not strictly into heavy stuff by any means. The heavier stuff, Slayer, Metallica, Celtic Frost, Motorhead, whatever. That's only one facet of what I'm into and what I like. I also equally love Creedence Clearwater Revival and, Three Dog Night and all kinds of other stuff. Now, with me, I guess what my biggest influence by far, as far as music, my biggest influence is the Beatles. I even have them tattooed on my right arm. And I suppose, it was like of all the metal bands I was hearing, I loved them. I thought they were fantastic, but I felt like a lot of them were kind of one-dimensional. And, having such a big influence from the whole classic rock thing, not only the Beatles, but, Zeppelin, Sabbath, Aerosmith, Kiss, on and on and on. I wanted to try to do something that was mostly in the heavy vein, mostly in, say, the early Metallica vein, but had some more variety to it so that, it was not just kind of the same thing over and over again as you will tend to get with, certain bands. I'm not going to mention any names. And so basically, it's kind of like, the best description I can give you is they were talking to the Reverend Horton. Do you consider yourself a rockabilly band? And, what he said was, well, yeah, but rockabilly is kind of just the jumping off point. From there, it branches off into a whole lot of other stuff. And I'd say the same thing about MACABRE L.A. insofar as heavy metal, if you want to call it that. I don't know. We'll just call it heavy metal for the sake of ease. Is the jumping off point. From there, it branches off into other stuff, and some of it's real fast, and kind of maybe early Slayer kind of stuff, and then some of it's more moody typo negative, and then we also have some acoustic stuff and everything else, and that was basically kind of the goal from day one. Is I wanted it to have a lot of variety.
Cool, man. Cool. Well, dude, first song I want to play tonight, "The Shroud of Urine." This song was one of the tunes on our first compilation, Metal Assault Volume 1. And thanks for being a part of that, man. Thank you. But what can you tell us about the tune, brother?
Are you referring to Shroud of Urine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, yeah, that one is a tune I wrote. Actually, I wrote the music some time ago, but the lyrics are all about, the corporate pirates that are robbing our country blind, and of course, Bernie Madoff was a sacrificial lamb. He's just the one who went to prison. But the whole tune is all about the Wall Street types that me personally, I'll just say this and then I'll shut up. I have more respect for somebody who puts a gun in my face and demands my wallet than I do for somebody who, robs me of my life savings. And I just did not feel like anybody had written a tune about that, because that to me is more evil than anything organized crime does. Right. And so that's what the tune is about, and the name is just something I thought was clever.
Cool, man. Cool. All right, gang, check it out. The Shroud of Urine from Macabre L.A. We'll be right back with Alex.
Just because is infected with greed. I must always have far more than I need. I'll get mine, even it was once yours. Soon or later will be behind locked doors.
All right, gang, we're back with Alex Cortes from MACABRE L.A. Man, how you doing, man?
I'm doing just fine, sir. How are you doing? I think we've already been over this.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. And killer tune, man. And again, that tune was you lent it to us for the Metal Assault compilation Volume 1. And again, man, I got to thank you for that. That was killer of you. Thanks, bro.
Well, you see, it works both ways. I quote unquote lent it to you, but you were nice enough to let me put it on there. So works both ways.
Well, you know, yeah. I mean that's what it's all about, man. That you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And not only that, but I mean, you don't know me from Adam. We just kind of made friends over the computer and you've been nice enough to help me out and everything else. So it's definitely very greatly appreciated on my end for sure.
Oh yeah. Cool, man. Cool. So Alex, man, when did you first get into music? When did you know that this is what you wanted to do?
Oh, shit, I think I was all of about, 6?
Wow, that young, huh?
No, I don't know if it was quite that young, but back in the good old 1970s, I discovered, I don't know what year it was, 76, I think, maybe. I discovered Kiss, and I had already been into the Beatles and whatnot, but I think after I discovered Kiss, I really can't think of too much of nothing else I ever wanted to do with my life, however improbable it was going to be that I was ever going to be a rock star. I think once I discovered Kiss that was pretty much it. But then I was kind of a late bloomer because I wasn't serious about it. It took me a little while to actually learn how to play, instruments and that sort of thing. But basically, since I would say the late 70s, I really cannot think of anything else I would ever rather do. I mean, hell, even if I could make $40,000 a year playing music, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, man, I hear you. Yeah, but you know, and I gotta say, because we're just about the same age, man. Same thing for me, Kiss, back in the 70s, man. That's what turned me on to the whole thing.
Well, yeah, Kiss. Kiss. It was. I mean, not only did I really love the music, but I mean, it was just. This was like four superheroes, but they were a band.
Exactly.
I mean, I would spend hours just staring at the covers of their albums because it was so fucking. Excuse me, we're allowed to cuss, right?
Yeah, yep, it's internet.
Okay, because it was just so bitch, and it was. And then I really liked the music on top of it, and all of that, and then very very shortly thereafter, it branched off into all kinds of other stuff. Not only the bands everybody was into, Boston, Aerosmith, Kiss, Zeppelin, Sabbath, Kansas, all that kind of stuff. But then also, I was at a pretty young age, I was into, bands like Captain Beyond and Wild Turkey and some of the lesser known ones. And, but yeah, I mean, with Kiss, I think what happened there was just the magic of the whole thing. Not only did I really like the music and the songs and everything else, but it was the whole presentation of it, and especially because, you know, this was the 70s. There wasn't no MTV back then, and music was hardly ever even on TV.
Right.
So all you had to go by was your albums and your posters, unless you were lucky enough to actually go see the band, and I was too young to go see bands. I didn't have nobody to take me, but I mean, it was, you know, I mean, I think, at least as far as metal, hard rock, I think Kiss is responsible probably for more bands than anybody I can think of.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. Yeah, whether they want to admit it or not. They're influenced by them.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know how things are in Scranton, but early 80s, I remember, you know, Kiss had kind of fallen out of favor, but then, you know, I'd go watch my buddies practice in various bands, and they were all playing, you know, Deuce and Detroit Rock City and what have you. So, you know, I don't know. They kind of fell out of favor for a while.
Right.
But
well,
I mean,
the whole hair band days.
Yeah, well, a lot of stuff fell out of favor back then. By the way, you know, I lived here in L.A. I actually saw Motley Crue back in, 81, 82, when they were still nobody.
Oh, shit. So they had the extra big hair and the extra makeup back then.
They had very big hair, and you know, I don't make it a habit to go bashing bands, but I remember at the time I thought this is the cheesiest Kiss ripoff I've ever seen.
You know,
but I wasn't into the metal thing. I was all into punk at that time, so that might have something to do with it.
I gotta say, full disclosure, man, I got sucked into the whole hair band thing back in the day, man. I had the bleached blonde, big hair and the spandex and the eyeliner, so I got sucked into it.
Did you have the mullet thing going on?
No mullet.
Okay, right, I see. Well, my buddy Joe that I do all my recording with, he actually had a mullet and a perm, and you know, he's had to live that down, even though nobody really remembers except him. But
oh, brother.
But what do you call it? Were you into like you know, Poison and Cinderella and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we played all those cover songs. Yep.
Well, that's cool. I mean, you got to start somewhere. You know, there's a lot of bands, a lot of music that for many years I was ashamed to admit that I liked it or that I was ever into it. Now, of course, I realize how ridiculous that is. But you know, when you're younger, you know, you got an image to uphold and what have you. As you get older, it's like, hey, you know what? I like, and you know, screw anybody that has a problem with it.
That's it, man. That's it. So, dude, let's talk about, you know, some of your influences. You mentioned Kiss, the Beatles, man. Who's responsible for musically influencing you, man?
Well, again, you know, the classic rock is what I started off with. And I don't know, you know, to this day I would have to say, if I have to pick a decade, you know, of all the decades that I've lived through, you know, what decade was my absolute favorite for music still is, I would have to say the 1970s. You know, again, Zeppelin, Sabbath, Kiss, Aerosmith, you know, Boston, Kansas, on and on and on. And then also, you know, a lot of the mellower stuff from the 70s. You know, I love Jim Croce, worship Jim Croce, you know, and then Three Dog Night, all that kind of stuff. So there's all that. And then I also really like a lot of the AM radio hits from, you know, back then, Seasons in the Sun and all that. But I suppose as far as what has really influenced what I'm doing now, I'd have to say like the whole 80s power speed metal thing, you know. because I had been into punk, and then I kind of got out of it for a while. And then, when you're talking about, like, Metallica's first 3 albums and Slayer and, Celtic Frost and all that kind of stuff, I suppose that's probably the biggest influence in addition to all the kind of more classic rock kind of stuff. That would be it. Now, once you get up into the 90s, I didn't care for that era as much, but,
No.
from that era, I really, really do, I love Typo Negative, and even though they turned out to be a bunch of stuck-up assholes, I really did actually like Guns N' Roses at one time, and so it's kind of a combination of different things. It's not just one. This is what It's a lot of different stuff, and I don't know, a lot of what I would say are influences. People probably wouldn't really hear it if they just listen to the tunes, but it has influenced me, nevertheless, I would say.
Cool, man, cool. So, dude, when you're not writing, rehearsing, recording, man, what do you do for a day off? What do you do, for fun, man?
Oh, well, it depends. The internet's like heroin to me. I'm on it all the time. Social media a bit, but more like Wikipedia and that kind of stuff, and I'm kind of I'm somewhat of a loner, so, I'm kind of content to hang by myself, but then also, sometimes I'll go do this or that or the other thing. I gotta be honest, my life's pretty boring most of the time. It's not real exciting. I don't really drink or do drugs or anything like that. So, it's not like any kind of great rock star existence or whatever. I suppose if I really had money, the two things I'd be doing a lot of traveling, first of all. I mean, there's like about 1,000 different places I'd like to visit. And then also, I'd probably be I'd probably be the world's worst compulsive shopper when it comes to musical equipment. I'd have like a whole warehouse full of stuff I'd probably never even use, but I'd be out a couple times a week buying this guitar, buying that guitar, buying this amp, this bass, that bass, that sort of thing. But that's really about it. Most of the time, a day off, I'm mostly hanging by myself usually. But then also, play a lot of guitar, play a lot of bass, and constantly trying to come up with riffs or listening to music. And I watch a lot of documentaries too, Sir David Attenborough, that kind of stuff.
Cool, man, cool. So, what would you say is your most memorable moment so far with the band?
We did a gig down in Mexico that was fantastic, and it was about 2,000 people, and it was absolutely incredible. Unfortunately, we've never been able to go back because the place closed. And, things down in Mexico are really kind of unpredictable. But that, and I suppose being the process of recording the 2 albums, has been really incredible. I love recording. I guess some people might think it's like a pain in the ass or something they have to do. I truly, really, really enjoy it. So anytime I get to record, that's always wonderful. I love doing it. I love the process of it, and and then not only that, but once you start recording, you start hearing all kinds of stuff that you didn't really have in mind in the first place, and the whole thing's really, to me, totally magical.
Cool, man. So let's take it the other way, man. Do you have any Spinal Tap moments you'd like to share with us?
Do I have what? I'm sorry?
Spinal Tap moments you'd like to share with us, man.
Well, let's see, Spinal Tap. Let's see, I think really when you're in a band, it's pretty much Spinal Tap most of the time, isn't it? But, gigs go wrong, and this doesn't happen, and that doesn't happen, and, and equipment breaks down, and, and all that, and plus that, it's really strange when you're playing music, Are you there? Oh, okay, because I heard somebody talking in the background. I'm sorry, I got a little confused there for a sec. But then, also, when you're creating art, there is something about it that just kind of tends to put you on the rag. And I'm not sure what that is exactly, except that maybe the art comes from some weird primal sort of pain or whatever the case may be. But, yeah, I've had a few pretty ridiculous kind of Richie Blackmore meltdowns over absolutely nothing. And, at the time, I'm even thinking, Alex, you're really acting stupid here. This isn't that big a deal. You shouldn't be this upset about it. But, once it starts, it's like a downward spiral kind of a thing, right. And it happens to everybody, I think. Some worse than others, but
Yeah.
The key is not to be nasty to other people just because you're having a bad moment. That's the key. That's it's just grit your teeth and keep it to yourself.
Right. Exactly, man. Exactly. Very cool. So, dude, next song I want to play is Mausoleum Floor. What can you tell us about the song?
Let's see. It's kind of a love song, a morbid love song, I would say. The whole idea is that you and this person are going to do the nasty in a cemetery. But it's not crude, it's not gross, it's like kind of a love song. And what do you call it? To the best of my knowledge, nobody's really done that one yet. So that's the idea behind it.
Awesome. All right, gang, check it out. Mausoleum Floor from Macabre L.A. We'll be right back with Alex. All right, gang, we're back with Alex from MACABRE L.A. Killer tune, man. Awesome. I'm digging it. Dude, again, I want to thank you for hanging out with us tonight, man. It's been awesome, man.
Been twice as awesome for me.
Dude, now, would you say you evolved musically since your first CD, man?
Yeah, well, I don't know that the tunes are all that different. I know that this second album, Truth is on the Cutting Room Floor, has much better sound quality, but that probably has a lot to do with the fact that me and my buddy Joe, that I recorded the albums with, we've advanced a lot in terms of how to do things and whatever else. But yeah, I think that the two albums are fundamentally fairly different insofar as the first album, Twilight Aftermath has a lot of, bells and whistles and all kinds of silly, sounds in the background and in between songs and stuff. This second album, I wanted it to be much more like kind of just an 80s metal album with, proper rills in between each songs and none of the weird background noises and stuff. So it's fundamentally pretty different in that respect. I don't know that the songwriting is all that different, but, thing is of course, as an artiste, you always want to thank your, progressing.
Right.
Unless you're AC/DC,
Oh, dude. I just saw something online about them. And they said it was something to the effect that they have they hold the world's record for the longest song. It's 12 albums long,
Yeah, well, Angus has a really famous quote. He said, some people have said all we did was re-release the same album 13 times, but they're wrong. It was 14. And bless their hearts, I love AC/DC. I absolutely love it. I mean, I've been into that band for years.
They're a great party band, man. You could throw any AC/DC song at a party, and everybody's gonna get up.
Well, it's not only that; it's so fun and it's so infectious and so clever and very simple and to the point. Yeah, great rock and roll. Love AC/DC.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Man, yeah. Dude.
I was just using them as an example because they'll be the first to admit that they really,
You're right.
They'll be the first to admit, Malcolm Young would be the first to admit that it's pretty much the same thing over and over again with them. So, that's why I use them as an example.
But they're still going, and they're still one of the world's biggest bands, man. They're doing something right.
As they should be.
Right, man. So, dude, what advice would you have for the bands just starting out, man?
Oh, shit, man. You know what? Truth is, I don't have none. And I'll tell you why. Because music is a very wild and unpredictable art form. I mean, you look at some bands, we'll just use the Beatles, for example, they weren't just the biggest band in the world. They were the biggest thing that had ever happened to the entertainment industry. And they were at the height of their power, and they broke up like it was nothing. Well, we're not playing together anymore, folks. Sorry, game over. And that's how music is, and it's really hard to say, okay, well, if you do this, you'll get this result. You do that, you'll get that result. It's impossible to say that because, most people in my experience, that are, have really gotten big and made a really great living from music and everything else. Yes, they were talented. Yes, they, deserved their fame and whatever, but a lot of it was that they knew the right people. They were in the right place at the right time. And I know that some people might say that's kind of a shitty attitude to have or whatever, but really, ultimately, it always kind of comes down to fate or karma or, I mean, even, a lot of celebrities, not only just musicians, but celebrities in general, they tend to want to take credit for everything they had. But if you really sat them down and really put their story down, you're going to find that at some point they had that opportunity. And, as for how do you make that happen, I honestly don't know. Basically, anything that's ever happened to me that's been good has happened when I least expected it. And whenever I was like trying to make it happen, it didn't happen.
Right.
So I'm sorry if that sounds cynical, if that sounds, but what do you call it? Above all else, I would say, write for yourself. Be a fan of your own music, and hopefully other people will like it too. If they don't, or whatever, then you can't be all things to all people.
Right.
And not everybody's going to like what you do. It's just that simple, So, and that's the other thing, too. You're going to put yourself out to the public, whether you're just making cheesy little, whether you're a 16-year-old girl making cheesy videos for YouTube, or whether you're actually making albums, whatever you're doing, you're going to put yourself out there. Some people aren't going to like it. It's not personal. They don't know you from Adam. But above all else, make music that you like, that you want to hear, as best as within your ability. That's about all I could really think of.
No, that's cool, man. Really cool. So, dude, labels, are you looking for one, man?
Well, I don't even know how to really look for one. I've tried sending demos to people here, there, and everywhere or whatever. On the Internet, the Internet is such incredible musical overload these days that it's I mean, I've tried sending links to people and this, that, and the other thing, but basically if something like that happened, absolutely I'd be totally open to it, as long as I'd be very careful about, what lines I signed on and whatnot. I've heard plenty of horror stories over the years, people getting ripped off, and whatnot. So I would definitely, have everything checked out in advance and, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'd be open to it if it happened. As for like, how would I go out and chase it and make it happen? That I really couldn't tell you. I'm not real fluent in that area of music.
Right. So, dude, and we were talking earlier in the week about the internet and, being a double-edged sword. And, again, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic tool. You can put yourself out there to, millions of listeners, but at the same time, there's a million other bands doing the same thing. And, it's not, you got to do what you got to do not to get lost in that crowd. But but again, it's so much better than back in the day when you were just, I always reference this, hanging flyers on telephone poles and hoping it didn't rain before the gig.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing is, too, I remember, like, back in the early 90s, me and my buddies would be making recordings on these cheesy little 4-tracks, that 4-track recorders, And, I mean, the sound quality was abominable, but I did it anyway, just so I could have something to listen to, just so I could feel like I was creating something, just so I could feel like I was doing something, over and above, whenever we'd be able to play live. But it's especially, like, as far as nowadays, the internet is a wonderful, wonderful tool in many, many different respects, far over and above music. But, the downside to that, as I think you and me was talking about, the downside to that is that, I was able to record both these albums in my buddy's living room at a cost of almost nothing. And I mean, both of the albums that I've done back in like the 90s, or even, farther back in like the 80s, if I had even come anywhere near doing anything like that, we would have been talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in a professional studio and, and the whole 9 yards, and I was able to do it in my buddy's living room. And that's really incrediable. But the downside to that is a lot of other people can do the same thing now. So, so now the competition's through the roof, and especially when you're talking about metal. I mean, back in the day, you and me are older dudes. We remember, back in the day, if you were talking about metal, your competition was pretty much coming from the States or the UK, or maybe, a bit here and there from Europe, Germany or whatever. But that was about it. But that's all over with now. I mean, shit, there's a metal scene in Indonesia and Brazil and Colombia and Israel, and and you got bands coming from all these areas now. You even got metal bands coming out of India, which, nothing against India, but that's not the sort of thing you'd expect. But you even got them coming out of there now, and so that's unfortunate. And then when you include all the different stuff that has that was like big time, going all the way back to say the 50s, the early days of rock and roll, and all that's up on the internet now too. And it can be difficult even just getting people to check it out. Just give it a listen and tell me what you think. But it's like, well, let's see, I already have my iPod with 9,000 tunes on it. So it is. It's a double-edged sword. It's great in many respects, but as do most good things, it does have a downside.
Right. Exactly, man. So, dude, what are the goals for the band, man? You have any specific goals?
Well, the goals for the band are pretty much the same as they've always been and always will be, until such a time as I'm no longer physically able to play for some reason. As many gigs as possible, hopefully for decent-sized crowds, I'll be recording until the day I die, until I'm physically not able to do it. I don't have any plans to record right now, but, as soon as I'm able to do it, I would be recording all the time if I could. If I was like, say, a big-time rock star or even a medium-sized rock star, say I wasn't as big as Kiss, but, we were as big as, I don't know, Typo Negative, I'd be the worst workaholic on earth. Nobody'd want to be in a relationship with me because I'd already be married to the band, every minute I'd want to be recording or rehearsing or doing this or doing that, and, we'll use Kiss as an example again. When Gene Simmons had the one show, Family Jewels, I didn't watch it. I didn't care for it. But I remember that, he was always on his cell phone and always making deals, and, and his family was kind of getting annoyed with him. But, I'd be the same way.
Right.
I'd be the same way, especially, if I was making a really gigantic living from it and whatever else. Hell, I'd be living, eating, and breathing the damn band,
Right, man. And again, going back to the internet, and nowadays that's the way you have to be to keep yourself out there, to keep yourself fresh, because the second you sign off, somebody's signing on. Yeah.
Oh, and even while you're still signed on, there are thousands of people signing on all the time.
Exactly.
But the thing is too is, you and me, we remember what things was like back in the 80s, back in the 90s, whatever. Who would really ever want to go back to that? It was pretty miserable overall. Again, there wasn't as much direct competition as there is now, but the internet is wonderful. Again, it has its downsides here and there, whatever, but overall, I have nothing but praise for it. And basically with me, it's like, the band is going to be as successful as it's going to be. And I have limited control over that. But, even if, say, I lost an arm tomorrow and couldn't play anymore or whatever, I'd still be on the internet all the time, checking out new bands, listening to the older bands, and and whatever else. And, so who would ever want to sign off? I think it's a wonderful thing personally.
Right, man, right. So, dude, are you looking to take the band back on the road, man?
You know what? I'm ready, willing, and able, but again, music's a very wild and unpredictable art form, and especially nowadays, I mean, you can be doing great 1 minute and be doing absolutely nothing the next. And, unless you're already established, unless you've been around, I would say at least since like the early 90s or so, again, I'll use, typo negative. Obviously, unfortunately, Pete Steele, bless his heart, is no longer with us. But, they were not like super huge. They weren't like playing stadiums and stuff, but, they were certainly doing just fine, and they were certainly making a good living doing the band. What do you call it? If I could even get it to that point, I'd be happy. But there again, they'd been around since the early 90s, and as far as anything brand new, it's a lot harder. Because there's a lot more competition, and not only that, but it seems like, especially here in a good old USA, a lot of the entertainment industry these days seems to be geared towards appealing to teenage girls. So it, and I don't think our music appeals to that demographic a whole lot. But if any sort of opportunity like that came up, oh yeah, you bet. I love being on the road. I don't mind living out of a suitcase. I don't mind sleeping in a van if I have to. It's all good to me. I enjoy it.
Cool, man, cool. So where can the listeners find MACABRE L.A.?
Well, first of all, as far as if you're just looking for the tunes, your best bet is Bandcamp. Let's see, guy, I should have brought this up before we started talking, but basically, the site is Bandcamp's your best bet. That's where you're going to find the tunes at the best quality, and, it's real easy to log on to, and that would be the best bet as far as, but then, MACABRE L.A. is also on Facebook, but Facebook, as far as band sites, it's kind of cheesy. It's not that great because you can't really upload music, but basically it's MACABRE L.A., lowercase MACABRELA .bandcamp, BANDCAMP.com, and if you log on to that, you'll find both albums, and all the tunes are available for free. So that would be your best bet. At this point, that and Facebook are the only places I have the band, because some of the other sites I was going to get up on, they wanted money, and I'm not going to pay to have my stuff.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it. Maybe I should be more willing and more flexible in that kind of in that way. But yeah, the Bandcamp thing, and then of course MACABRE L.A. and Alex Cortes. I got a personal site and I got a band site up on Facebook. So if somebody's unable to find the tunes, they can always email me there, and I can send them a link. No problem.
Cool, man. Cool. Very cool. Dude, Alex, man, I want to thank you, man, for calling in tonight. It's been a pleasure. It's been a blast, man. Thank you.
Absolutely, Billy. Thank you for having me, man. This was killer. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Awesome, dude. The last song I want to play tonight, Blue Shade of White, dude. What can you tell us about the song?
Well, I just gave you a little bit of something thematically about it. Metallica has that song Trapped Under Ice, and I assumed that had something to do with, falling into a frozen river and being stuck up under the ice. It turned out that wasn't what the song was about at all. Their song is actually about cryonics. So I decided, well, then I will write a song about, crashing through the ice and, that whole, and the whole journey into death and all that kind of, same sort of morbid stuff we've all heard 1,000 times, but hopefully it's a fresh spin on it.
Cool, man, cool. Alex, again, man, thank you, and Hang on 1 second. Listeners, check it out. Bluish Shade of White from Macabre L.A. We'll be right back.
Still, there is one hope, that our body suffers little pain, that our mind is of a thought unaffected.